Hello, welcome to Redefine Possible. This is our event that's part of our Women Techmakers celebrating International Women's Day, and our theme for this year is Redefine Possible. And so I'm happy to have you here. We've put this under an impact and inspiration uh, series of events. So this is our first kickoff for our online series. And so happy to have our guest here today, Donna Maria Jose. And I'm going to have you kind of introduce yourself, and I'll turn the stage over to you and begin our presentation from impact to vision, from vision to impact, and how to go from 0 to 1 projects. I'm super excited about this and welcome our audience here today. So thank you so much, Donna.
Thanks, Philippa. Thanks for inviting me and thanks for the welcome. Hey, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, like whatever time zone it is for everyone. My name is Donna. I'm a senior software engineer with Slack, just apparently Salesforce right now. And I've previously worked with Microsoft, Dropbox, Visa, like a couple of companies like that. And at all these places, I've had the opportunity to work on 0 to 1 efforts. And I've seen firsthand how these projects can shape the team, products, and careers. And even though I didn't always plan to work on these 0 to 1 projects, once I experienced the thrill of doing something from scratch, I knew that's what I really want to do, and that's what I really enjoy. So that's what we will be talking about today. So that's a brief about my professional life. And beyond my day job, I enjoy volunteering and mentoring a lot, and that's what made me Google Women Checkmakers ambassador, and that's where I met Philippa. I'm also AnitaB.org member. I've been a volunteer with them for a couple of years. I'm a global POC right now, helping the team to set up a lot of a lot of the communities and managing volunteers. And also recently I started running a career-focused initiative called Show Your Word Circles. And that's a bit about me.
Fantastic. I'll move us over here. You up here? Okay, so we've got from vision to impact, leading 0 to 1 projects. I'm excited about this. And just, can you define a little bit more 0 to 1? I'm thinking this is basically taking things from nothing to something, from idea to execution.
Exactly, you got it right. So basically, like if we had to start with like what is 0 to 1, the concept was made popularized by Peter Thiel's book 0 to 1, which I myself have read, and it's an amazing work. So here's how I consider it: like anything, it can be a project, it can be an organization that you're building, or anything, something that you build from like non-existence. So can be an academic project, a work project that you build, or I'd say like making a switch from one career to another itself. That's a 0 to 1 effort. Like you're building something from which didn't exist to new. It's about creating something completely new, a true innovation that didn't exist before. Sometimes like we call the existing projects as 1 to N projects. So how is it different? Is 0 to 1 is building something from nothing, while 1 to N is improving or scaling a project. It might be an existing idea that is working, but we need to add more complexity or make it more efficient. That's what we call a 1 to N effort. In a professional setting, building a system, a process, any of these things can be called as a 0 to 1 effort.
Okay, I was going to say within a startup, it seems like everything is sort of 0 to 1. You're just building and everything's building. But I would say there's a unique challenge that you're going to introduce us today when you work in these big corporate environments, which is your experience, that they're very structured. And obviously everybody wants job security and not to sort of push boundaries or get anybody upset, or, so there's sort of this institutional structure that you have to work within. So I think that your conversation, which I'm particularly excited about, is how to thrive in these. Not only can you do this, like I said, in this startup kind of freewheeling kind of environment, but then how do you make this super successful within a very structured corporate environment?
Yeah, sure. That's what we will dive today into.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to leave the stage to you, and we'll be back to take some questions. I already see some questions coming in, so looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Philippa. All right. So I gave a brief about me, what I do, what I've been doing, all these things. I don't want to go over this again. And again, these are some of the topics that we would be discussing today. What is a 0 to 1 effort, which we already discussed? And then what are the phases of a 0 to 1 project? And What are the skills that you need to lead a 0 to 1 project? Some of the practical steps. How do you measure the impact? What are the impact? What are the challenges? So these are some of the things that we will be walking through today. So we already talked about what is a 0 to 1 concept. It can be anything that you build from scratch, whether your career, whether it be a new feature, a new product, anything. In our own lives, 0 to 1 can mean starting a new team, launching a community initiative, or reframing your careers, as I said before. And for me, when I decided to pursue my master's degree in the US, that was a 0 to 1 moment, a leap that opened a lot of doors to me. So that's how I define a 0 to 1 if it's in a non-professional setting. Let's start discussing a bit about like how do we identify 0 to 1 opportunities. So when it comes to something truly innovative, the first step is to identify these opportunities. This starts from spotting the gaps and the needs in your industry or your community. So spotting the gaps and the needs. What I normally do, or like what I ask people to do in these kind of situations, like in identifying the opportunities, is look at the market and the industries that you're involved in. See if there are any areas that are underserved or overlooked. Innovations often begins with the willingness to question the status quo. When we stop and listen closely to people's frustrations, whether it's our customers, our colleagues, or our communities, we realize that these frustrations are symptoms of deeper systemic issues which needs to be fixed. So one of the thing is like if in a non-work setting, like you hear that a lot of people complain about not having an opportunity to meet up often. So host an event, like make it an opportunity for networking. So that's a non-work setting. There's a lot of examples that we can talk about in a work setting, like all the big companies, they were all once nothing, and which was built based on these gaps that the founders identified. And innovating around the use of pain points is another key thing. Empathy is one of the most powerful tools of an innovation. The best idea comes from understanding your users deeply and designing solutions based on their true needs. We can use approaches like design thinking to observe and engage with users, ensuring the solutions that are created, it's just not original, but also useful to them. By listening actively to the customers or the users, you can innovate around their pain points and provide something that adds real value and improve their experiences. And the next thing is developing a unique value proposition. Once you identify the pain point and come up with a solution, the next question to ask is, what makes this idea truly different? What makes this stand apart from what is already out there? And this is where your unique value proposition comes in. It's not enough to simply do something different. It needs to be something irreplaceable and valuable to a specific audience. And that's what adds more value to the product that you're bringing in, or the effort that you're bringing in. When you're thinking about the idea's long-term potential, consider how it continue to deliver value and stand out in the face of a competition. It shouldn't be just something that solves the current problem. Keep a long-term vision in it. See what you can do to make it a product or a feature that addresses the long-term issues that might come up. And another opportunity is finding the area of stagnation. Industry, look at the industries or any domains that have like very little innovation for years. Some of the areas that I've heard is legal tech or construction or public transit. There's a lot of innovation happening in those areas these days, but anything of that sort, like which has been stagnant for a while. Look for example, like one thing that comes to my mind immediately is Airbnb. So they disrupted the stagnant hotel industry. So they found a new way to make another market for how to accommodate the hotels or accommodation stuff, anything related to that. So that's just one example. There's a lot more that we can find. And then reframing the existing problems. That's another method. Ask the question, what if we flip the assumption? Or instead of improve, like if we take the case of Uber, instead of asking how do we improve taxis, what they asked was, what if anyone could be a driver? And that's what ended up being a new company, and that's what made Uber what it is today. And keep in mind that some of the best 0 to 1 efforts didn't come from the leadership. They came from people like me and you on the ground seeing what's not working. So that gives us an idea of like how can we identify the 0 to 1 opportunities. Now let's talk about what are the phases of the 0 to 1 project. And keep in mind that innovation is a process, and understanding these phases is very crucial in bringing your ideas to life. I like to break it down into 3 distinct phases: ideation, planning and prototyping, execution and scaling. The first phase is ideation. This is where your goal is generated and it can be a compelling vision for your project. And that's where you define the problem, research possible solutions, and anything that you can think about. Think about why and who you're building for. That's the 2 key things: why and who. And what makes your idea unique. That's where the first thing that I propose, like the unique value proposition, comes in. Start by identifying the opportunities with some of the methods that we already discussed. It can be a gap in the market, an undeserved need, or any inefficiencies in an existing product, or rethinking the whole thing into a whole different thing. Look for the overlooked pain points that can be found that can become the foundation for your idea. And once you identify the opportunity, the next key step is to align your key stakeholders. Building a shared vision and getting buy-in from a key team member is crucial. You'll want to build the excitement around the idea by showcasing the potential impact on the company goals. That is, if it is in a company setting, and if it's something that you're building on your own, if it's a startup, it's a whole different scenario. Uh, this thing that I talk about, like stakeholders, is not just within your company. It's anybody who is a stakeholder for your idea, anybody who would be interested in investing or being a partner with you. And connected to the broader strategies or anything, the broader vision. So whatever your idea is connected with your broader vision of like how it can be a couple of years down the lane. And also, it's very important to get early supporters, people who can champion your project and drive the momentum. It can be the person who helps you bring in the ideas to like upper management or investors, or it can be some early testers or beta testing team who can help you test out the product. It can be anyone like that, but make sure to get that early support at a very early stage. And at this stage, brainstorming is very important. Keep brainstorming aggressively, but stay grounded. Maybe techniques like blue ocean strategies can help you find uncontested market spaces. And those are some areas where you may not have a lot of competition, but that's where you can innovate. And that brings us to that second phase of planning and prototyping. Once you have a clear vision, it's the time to plan and prototype or test it out. In this phase, we break down the big idea into smaller actionable chunks of work that we can do. Creating a roadmap for execution will help us keep the team on track so that we don't miss anything, or we identify what is the long-term goal that we have, or like what do we have to do in short term. Set milestones for each phase and focus on the short-term goals, which will keep us in the right track. And defining these goals are very essential for the success. And also define your success metrics at the very early stage. This should be both qualitative and quantitative. So qualitative can be like the user satisfaction, the brand impact, anything of that sort. And quantitative can be the revenue growth, the market share of things of that sort. We'll also need to think about the risk. Take calculated risk and identify potential roadblocks. It can be technical, financial, market related. Prepare a mitigation strategy if ever you come into those roadblocks. Some of the techniques that you can use is like pre-mortem analysis. That's something that always comes in handy. And also, it's all about envisioning the worst case scenarios and preparing and planning for any potential issues that may crop up. And prototyping. That's a technique that I always prefer, and that's something that I always do, whether it be a 0 to 1 effort or a new or a 1 to N effort. Develop a minimum viable product that lets you validate the core strategy or core concepts without committing to full scale. It can be the very crappy product that you have, like a very minimal use case web landing page, anything that can be used by the user, but it serves the need or it serves the purpose that you've been working for. And use an iterative approach to build and test on these minimum viable products. So you build something, test it out, learn from it, improve it without having a heavy development cost or anything. And like I said, that's something that prototyping is something that you can always use, irrespective of whether it's 0 to 1 or 1 to 1 or anything. And then comes the third stage, which is execution and scaling. With a solid plan in place, you can move into this stage. And in this phase, agility is very crucial. Your project is live, and now it's all about keeping the team aligned and motivated. Build a cross-functional, build a team that matches or aligns with your vision more than the techniques that is used. Like the vision should be shared. Build teams with diverse skill sets so that you can quickly respond to any challenges. So each person might be good at different things. Build a team that can help you in building your vision to success, or gather people around you so that they are good at responding to any challenges that are thrown their way. Keep having regular check-ins and stand-ups to ensure that we are on the same page, working towards the same goal. At the same time, you have to make sure that it doesn't get too process-oriented, and you derail from what your original mission was. And that's what brings me to the next point, like that. Flexibility is very key. Feedback from the customers, stakeholders, or even internal users can guide you. Pivot when necessary. Adapt with any changes that you see or any feedback that you get. Staying adaptive, being ready for being ready to make any changes, or like becoming very adaptable to the feedback that you get, is very crucial. And once the project gains traction, you'll need to focus on scaling. So keep in mind that the initial goal is not scaling. Initial goal is to build something that actually works, serves a purpose, and then you focus on scaling. Ensure that the operations can handle, or any feature that you build can handle, the increased demand and complexity. And also optimize your system and process to make sure that the project can sustainably scale. And one of the example would be Amazon. Amazon started as an online bookseller, but to the 0 to 1 thinking and agile execution, it transformed into a global tech giant. The ability to pivot and adapt and scale their operations was key to their success. So, in the summary, the journey from 0 to 1 involves ideation, where you identify the opportunity and build excitement. Planning and prototyping, that's where you create the roadmap, validate your ideas, and build the minimum viable product. And then execution and scaling. This is where you stay agile and focus on growth. Each of these phases build upon the previous one, and that helps you bring your innovation to life. So let's talk about leading the 0 to 1 projects. It's a journey that requires more than just technical expertise. It demands a visionary leadership, which a lot of people I know have done very successfully. Excuse me. This means that balancing the immediate needs of execution with a forward-looking strategy that inspires teams and drives innovation. Let's explore some of the key traits and approaches that a visionary leader needs to have in these situations. The first thing is visionary leadership. Effective leaders inspire by articulating a compelling vision and a clear purpose. This sets the direction and also instills a sense of excitement or urgency. They anticipate the future needs and proactively address them, ensuring that the team stays ahead of the curve. So that's what points out at the long-term vision that we should have. And then adaptability. That's one thing that I've been stressing from the beginning. Expect to encounter any unexpected challenges and be ready to respond to it immediately. It shouldn't be the time for panicking or complaining or finger pointing. It should be a time that you figure out like what went wrong, how can we fix it, and then how can we avoid getting into this state again. So you have to stay very calm and composed without losing the sight of the end goal. So your end goal is make the product better, make the feature better. So keep that in mind. Staying flexible while maintaining the team morale is very critical in this fast moving environments. And effective communication. So, effective communication is key in everything, every single thing that we talk about. Effective communication is very essential. Leaders must be transparent with the stakeholders, provide regular updates, simplify complex ideas, keep the team known about like what are we doing right now, like what is our vision, what are the goals that we are aiming for. Uh, Build a little bit on your storytelling and data visualization skill set, and that's going to help you uh, make a very good impact on the team and the stakeholders. And then data-driven decision making. Whenever there is uncertainty, data is an ally. Leaders leverage the analytics to inform their decisions using tools like user feedback, market trends, or financial metrics. This reduces uncertainty and also help in guiding if you have to make a pivot in the way that you're doing right now, or decide on any scaling strategies that you've been applying. And then again, team building is something that you can't avoid at all. Your team is your key to your project success. Uh, keep that energy of the team, like celebrate the wins, congratulate or appreciate what your team is doing, and that's what builds a high performing team culture. I missed two things in between: strategic thinking and risk tolerance. Strategic thinking is again overall idea of all these things that we summarize. Develop comprehensive plans and expect or anticipate any potential challenges that might be coming. And risk tolerance. Um, as I said in the beginning, make calculated risk or calculated risks are very key to this. Being comfortable to take that risk or dealing with uncertainty and making bold decisions, that's what makes you stand apart, and that's what makes you a leader. So visionary leadership for zero to one project or any project is not about the bold idea. It's more about bringing the idea to life through strategic thinking, adaptability, or empowering the team to deliver extraordinary results. So now that we've discussed what a zero to one project is, how can you be a leader, what are the skills that you need, let's discuss a bit about some of the practical steps. Building something from zero to one is a very exciting journey, and I can tell it from my experience, but it requires a structured approach. Let's break it down into a couple of practical steps. The first one is identifying a real problem and reframing it, which we've already talked a couple of times. Talk to users, read the reviews, lurk in all the forums that you can find, identify the pain points, workarounds, and efficiencies. One approach that we can use in this stage or this time is using the 5 whys approach, drill down to the root problem, and identify or ask what is truly the issue or what is truly broken here, and think differently. Like, what if we did the opposite of what is being done right now? That's one of the first steps, and that's what gives you the idea or the problem to solve. And start small, but think big. The first step to begin with small is to have run small experiments to test your ideas. Focus on the minimum viable product, which is a simplified version of your bigger vision. And this allows you to test, validate your concept, and with the minimum resource that you can get at that point. For example, take the example of Facebook. They started as a social network for just a single university, Harvard, and now they have expanded worldwide. And Amazon began as a bookstore, and it's a tech giant now. So the key is to start small by keeping the vision or the long-term vision in your mind, and then assembling a team of believers. You need a team who believes in you, who believes in your vision, and shares the same vision with you. This isn't just about getting people to work with you or getting people with the right skills. It's also about people who can collaborate with you, people who really believes in the mission and vision of the product or the feature. Look at those individuals who are adaptable, open to learning, passionate about solving a problem that you're addressing. Having a team with such skill set brings in a lot of creativity, resilience, And also, with this shared sense of purpose, it's very easy to overcome the challenges that you will find in the way. We'll discuss about the challenges later, but that's the type of people you want around you. They might not have the technical skill set, but then if they are ready to learn it with you, or like if they're ready to solve it, that's the person that you need in your team. Sketch a wild but simple solution. Do not worry about any of the constraints that you might have, or any of the big challenges that you are going to face. But think of it as a magical solution that you would be having for this problem, and then build on it. It might be like a little paper drawing that you have at the beginning. So not it down, draw it down, whatever you feel like doing, and then build a minimum viable product, and you'll know how to solve those uncertainties, or how to solve that bigger problem by making it like smaller and smaller bits and chunks of work. Get it done step by step, one step at a time. And take faster testing approaches, but then make sure that you learn even faster than that. Like I said, build a scrappy product, build a scrappy landing page or a prototype, get feedback, ask users for feedback. What did they learn? Did it solve the problem, or did it not? What are some of the things that the users actually want to see in it? See how people uses it. One of the tools that you could use is for such a case is Full Story. So they walk you through each step that a user takes, like whether it's a cursor moving, whether it is clicking on a button. You can identify the user path with such tools. Make use of all those things. Or the very easiest way is talk to your customers, talk to the users. The main ask that you have to have at this point is, does it solve the real problem? Whatever you have in the product right now, would the customers be unhappy if you change it? Or would the customers be happy if you change it? So that's what you need to know. And then iterate relentlessly. Refine the product based on the usage and the feedback that you get. Kill what doesn't work and double down on what works. And focus on sustainable growth strategies. Why we iterate on focusing or focus on scaling up. Also keep in mind about the sustainability of these growth strategies that you have. It's not about rapid scaling, it's about building a foundation for a long-term success. So keep that in mind all the time. Instead of chasing down growth at all the cost, prioritize and creating value, and think of an organic expansion. So by starting small, rallying a team of believers, focusing on sustainable growth, you can turn your 0 to 1 idea into a lasting success. And now let's talk about the impact. Like I said, it's not just about creating a successful product, it's also making the lasting impact. Let's talk a bit about how you can measure the impact and think about the legacy that you're building. Measuring impact over profit. There might be a lot of controversies on that, like what should we focus on? Is it the profit or the impact? Revenue is certainly important, and it's very crucial to consider a broader, for a success of the product. But it's also essential to consider the broader impact the project can make. The true 0 to 1 initiatives often measure success by making the difference, or like how does it stand out? It can be a change that it brings in socially, environmentally, or in some way. So think of the impact that the product can make. That's also something that you should be keeping in your mind when you think about growth strategies or scaling up. When you excuse me, when you approach innovation with a purpose beyond profit, that's when you inspire people, create a real value, build a business that makes a difference, and leaving the legacy. In this step, think of when you think about the impact or the legacy that you create. True innovators, they actually leave behind more than just a product. It's a legacy that you're giving your future generation. Ask yourself, how might your innovation influence future generations? What problems could it solve globally at a scale? And These type of projects doesn't just fade away, they become foundations to future breakthroughs. There might be products built on it, there might be ideas that spin out of it. That's the kind of legacy that you want to leave behind. It's also the satisfaction that you get when you leave such a legacy for your future generations. It's immense. It's beyond measurement. And then let's talk about the innovation, which is very essential, and also the competitive advantage that you will have. 0 to 1 projects are always the forefront of innovation. This creates a differentiation in the market and helps companies to stay ahead of the industry trends. And innovation is always the key to these kind of projects. And also, another impact that you can think of is creating the opportunity. Leading a 0 to 1 project gives you a unique advantage or unique opportunity to uh, expand or grow your personal and professional life. These projects require visionary leadership, and then problem solving skills, and also resilience and ability to inspire people. And that's what a true leader is, and that's what a lot of people look upon for a leader. By taking lead on these kind of initiatives, the individuals can position themselves as leaders or visionaries in the industry itself. And then again, it shapes the future of your organizations. It's not just about solving the problems for current situation or shaping in the future. It's also about leading the way in shaping the industry standards and practices. Okay. I won't sugarcoat it. It comes with challenges. There's a lot of challenges that you will face during this period. So, ambiguity. There's the road is not always clear. There will be a lot of things that you might know that you might not know. Be ready to face those challenges and uncertainties. A strategy that could work during this time is break down the projects or break down anything that you see, any issues that you might face. Break it down into smaller chunks or smaller steps. Use the data that you have to reduce the uncertainty and figure out like what needs to be done next. And then resistance to change is another challenge that you're going to face. Your team members or your stakeholders might push back. There might be that hype or energy initially, but it might die down in the future. There might be people who thinks about like what could go wrong, and it's not wrong. It's always good to have people like that, because sometimes you might get into a tunnel vision stage and you will be looking at only the success, but that's a time when you need people around you to tell, hey, these are the things that could go wrong. Be ready to face it, or let's figure out a plan or a backup plan to solve those changes. One of the things that you could do at this point is to avoid those kind of resistances. Get people involved, be transparent, and give them training or other resources that they need to address these, like on how to address these concerns or challenges. And limited resources, it always comes with when you work on new things, because you don't have a buy-in yet, you don't have a proven strategy yet. You might have very limited resources. It can be limited time, limited talent, or even finances. It might be very scarce. Try to focus more on creating maximum impact with these limited resources. Focus on lean budgeting, like budget everything. Have an idea of like how much is it going to, if it's financial, like how much is it going to cost you to build these things, or in terms of resources, like how many people do you need, what's the number of engineers, like if it's an engineering product, like what's the number of engineers that you have with you, and how many people should be focusing on it, which is the highest priority right now. And also during these times, make sure your team doesn't burn out. You might be focusing on getting things done, there might be a lot of things going on around, but make sure to have that balance between the priorities and burnout. Do not make sure your team doesn't burn out. And the fear of failure, that's something that paralyzes a lot of teams. Consider failure as a step to learning process. It's a step just towards success. If you don't try out something, you will not figure out like whether it will work or not. Document these lessons and learn from it. make sure that you don't make the same mistake again and again. So that's how you should address the failures, pivot it to make it something that works for your success, and maintaining the team morale throughout the time. Celebrate the small wins, always encourage the feedback, acknowledge hard work, and remind everyone that there is a bigger picture all the time. So, those are some of the challenges. Now, let's talk about what's in it for you. Why should you consider a 0 to 1 project or leading a 0 to 1 project? It can be transformative not just for your organizations, but also for you. First and foremost, these projects gives you a chance to drive innovation. By creating something entirely new, you fuel the organization's growth and also help your company stay ahead of competition. You're not responding to just trends, you are setting the trends. And then you have the unique opportunity to shape the future. Leading these efforts lets you influence the direction in which uh, your company moves, or sometimes even your industry or the field, depending on like the scale of the project that you're working on. It could create ripple effect, redefine what is possible, and redefine a lot of things that have been existent till now. On a personal level, these projects are incredible for personal growth. You face challenges, you figure out how to push the boundaries, learn new things, strengthen your skills, especially problem solving skills, and expand your leadership capabilities. And also, it's a powerful way of showcasing how initiative you are, how creative you are, putting your strategic thinking skills into place. And also, that makes it a catalyst for your career advancement. You're positioning yourself as a leader in the industry, in your company, who is not afraid of taking big challenges or driving impactful results. And because of that, you grow immensely, you learn faster, you gain visibility, you become not just as a doer, but also as a builder. These projects are very helpful in defining your careers, creating the momentum, and that's what turns engineers into leaders and contributors to change makers. So you're not just contributing for your organization's success. It's a way for you to set yourself up for success and for long-term growth opportunities. So for me, 0 to 1 moments have been very pivotal. I learned a lot. I not just learned, I figured how do I respond to like critical situations, or like how do I figure out like what's the best opportunity or what's the best way to handle things. What when there are n different ways to do something, how do I pick the best one? Those are some of the things that gave a lot of confidence to me to make some bold steps. So, as we conclude today, I want to emphasize key elements of leadership in 0 to 1 projects. These leadership for these initiatives requires a clear vision, resilience in the time of uncertainty, and adaptability. Uh, and you really need it when things doesn't go as planned. As a leader, it's your responsibility to steer your team throughout all the uncertainties or ambiguities that you'll face by focusing what the bigger picture is. And also, it's equally important to build trust, focusing on collaborative environment, and that's when the best results come out. And also, do not forget to celebrate all the wins and milestones along the way. Recognizing these small wins will help the team to keep up or keep the team morale up, and that's the best way to remind your team the progress that you've made so far. And at the end, leadership is not just about mm, getting to those milestones or guiding the project. It's all about inspiring the people and empowering the team to innovate more, overcome the challenges and uncertainties, and achieve greater things. And with that, I'd like to conclude. Thanks for, I hope you learned something. I always love hearing back from people on what they learned, or like what are some of the ideas that you have. So I'd like to hear any of those ideas that you may have. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. So this QR code would take you directly to my LinkedIn profile.
I love this. It's super helpful. So we have some questions that have come in. So I'm going to start with what is the right time to pivot?
So it's a in terms of like, do you want to scrap it or do you want to pursue it? Is that what the angle is?
Uh, it's a general question that came in the comments, but I think we can take it a couple of different ways. Like, so let's say we've started a project, we have a vision, we have our team, we're
Mhm.
moving forward, we're dealing with challenges because inevitably, like you said, we're going to.
Mhm.
But when is it a time that we're sort of saying, hey, what we're doing maybe isn't working?
Mhm.
And do we need to sort of just regroup on a strategy to go forward as planned, or do we need to really rethink what we're doing? We still want to carry on. We still want to work with the team, but maybe there's a better opportunity. Now we've maybe been in the space a little longer. We see things and
Mhm.
understand things better than when we started.
Okay. Yeah. So that's when I actually would focus more on hearing what the users are saying. Say you built a product and you're not seeing any usage of it, or you're hearing a lot of complaints from the users that this is not what they want, or this is something that is not solving the problem. So listen to those user feedbacks. Focus on the data that you have in hand, and keep checkpoints whether you are aligned with the vision that you had. Like, is it actually solving the problem? And if it's not, you definitely have to pivot at that point. So all the time, like when I work on something, I make those decisions whether to pivot or not, depending on is it solving the problem that I actually wanted to solve, or is it creating more issues than solving the problem? That's when we have to pivot.
Excellent. Now, another question is just from your experience working in very large corporations,
Mhm.
how much buy-in do you need from management, leadership, other people if you have something and you see an opportunity and you feel like it can be deployed within the framework of a larger company? Uh, or because it seems like this is sort of applying this in the workplace as part of the title of what we're talking about. How do you sort of begin that initial step to find an, and I'm imagining most of it would be an internal team, so you have to pull people's attention from other things that they're doing. But obviously, there's a good cause, and I think it wouldn't be hard to build that enthusiasm,
Mhm.
and especially if that vision is there. But how do you get buy-in from leadership and ultimately free up some resources?
So the best way to do it is show them that this can be useful. And how do you show them that this is useful or this is something that can be done? A lot of these larger companies, like including Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they have company-wide hackathons, which is a source of a lot of projects that comes into life later on. So use those times that you get to work on your passion project or work on something different from the normal days to build something or create these kind of minimum viable product. It doesn't even have to be a working setting, because for hackathons, you might have like 2 or 3 days. You won't be able to build the whole thing in those 3 days, of course. But start something and sharing that vision that, okay, this is the start of something big, or showing it to your manager and the team that, hey, I started working on this. This is the vision that I have about it. So that gets you the buy-in from your manager. So that's the first place where you can start. Talk to your manager. Hey, this is an idea that I have. And also listen to your company's needs. Look at the when you attend company-wide meetings, or when you there might be like team meetings or all hands meetings. Each company calls it with a different name. So during those meetings, the leaders actually talk about some of the things that they are worried about, or some of the things that they are focusing for the next quarter. See if you can align with those strategies. See if the ideas that you have is something that would be solving the whole problem, or at least a part of it, and that can help you get a buy-in very quickly.
That's very helpful because I feel like I said it's a different structure within a larger organization than a smaller one,
Yeah.
which but in some ways, I think that the larger one, there might be a little bit more focus. I do think one of the challenges was maybe perhaps smaller companies is maybe leaner resources. And I feel like some smaller companies can be very narrow in their strategy, and the other ones are a little all over the place trying to figure out like where do we fit.
Yeah.
And so it's if it's too narrow, it doesn't sort of add more innovation, and if it's too all over the place, it might not sort of have that such a clear lane.
Mhm.
So I think culture and environment are going to be really key to that. And
Yeah.
what about things that I don't know, just I guess fall outside of that? Because I would say you could even sort of apply these strategies just to things that you want to do in your own life, like personal hobbies and projects within your community and things that you see that need to be done. I think this also has great application outside of the workplace.
Yeah. So when it's outside of the work, the key thing is not the buy-in; it's the time that you have to find to do all these things, right? So you might have a very busy day, especially like when you are working working full time, and to do things like outside of your work, like you need to find the time, and your motivation is what will help you to find that time. So, for example, in my case, like when I moved to Dallas, I started working remote, and until then, I used to go to office. I used to meet a lot of people. So it gave me a lot of opportunity to meet new people. I didn't have to go to a different place to do that. But when I moved here, I had to push myself to get out of the house, go somewhere to meet people, learn from them, and that's what prompted me to start Anita or community here and start organizing events. So looked for a couple of events for some time, and I couldn't find something that I really wanted. And then I was okay, let me start what I want. And then I found a lot of people who shared the same mission, what they were looking for. And I do have a great team around me here in Dallas. Like we all work for the same thing. We all need the same thing. So finding the time is powered by the motivation or the passion that you have.
Love that. Now, you mentioned Anita B. Both of us are members of Anita B. Maybe we can just take a moment just to talk about it because maybe not everybody knows what Anita B is.
So ANIJB is it's an organization that supports women and non-binary in tech. So a lot of people might have heard about Grace Hopper Celebration, which is their flagship program. It's an annual conference where there's a lot of energy buzzing every time. And it has been a key part of my life for the past 2 to 3 years when I started working remote. So I do see, I find a lot of shared energy there, or a lot of people who shares the same passion and works for the same vision. And that's I call it as a community that powers me throughout the things that I've been working.
Oh, I love that. And I think community is key. I mean, I think that's where you find and pull those resources. And I would say even, when you're sort of building that team internally, I mean, people can certainly be assigned to you, but I think the relationships that you have and the ability to communicate and get that sort of early peer buy-in.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you're going to a manager, it's easier to say, these people are already kind of enthusiastic and willing to help,
Yeah.
if we get these sort of authorization and additional resources.
Yeah, a lot of the connections that I made was through anitabi.org. I got my mentors, my very close friends who have been working with me for the community here. It has been a great source of energy for me.
Oh, I love that. I think that, and that's such a big part of it, is feeding off that energy, and that's why I love the Women Tech Makers program. And the Women Tech Makers is uh, through Google and just leading a community that lets women to connect as women in tech,
Yeah,
and it's been
one
such an amazing resource.
yeah, one of the things that I love about women techmakers is they are agnostic of any organization that you work with. Their main mission is to get things done. It's not about like doing it for such and such organization or doing it with them. It's all about like getting things done. It's all about doing what you're doing with a lot of passion and energy.
Yeah, and it's just so nice to see that mirrored back with so many other super talented professionals in tech who just happen to be women.
Yeah.
I love that. And it's yeah, and so can you just circle back fully because I honestly have not read the book 0 to 1, and I
Hmm.
just know that this talk is so foundational to that concept. Can
Yeah.
you just give some history of the book? I think most people, probably know it's Peter Thiel, right, who wrote that?
Yeah.
And he's one of the PayPal founders.
Yeah.
They call it the PayPal mafia. But just yeah, I think for those who don't know, I'm going to come bring us back here to the screen. And yeah, can you just give us a little bit of an introduction on like the book and what inspired you about it and maybe sort of the history of
Yeah.
what?
So the book is all about like all the concepts that I just discussed. Like it's a lot of the things are being spoken there, and uh, the book focuses on like what the concept is, how do you address the challenge that you will face along the way, or excuse me. And also, I believe it's been some time that I read the book. I believe there are a lot of case studies which talks you through how did they overcome these challenges, or like what are some of the things that they did to overcome these things. So one of the main thing that I see in the book itself is when you read it, when you see that okay, you're not the first one to face a challenge. It has happened before, and you're not the first one to handle it. That gives you a lot of confidence in like solving the problem or like solving the ambiguity that is ahead of you. And uh, when I was working with Microsoft, that's when I actually started working on that was my first 0 to 1 effort that I worked on, and that's when I actually started reading the book as well, because it was something that I was experimenting myself. Like my manager gave me the courage to work with my team on that. Hey, let's do this, and so I've been trying to gain all possible knowledge that I can get from the universe to work on that to make the project a success, and that's what prompted me to read the book. And if you haven't, if you really enjoy things like that, I love reading books that inspires you. I used to be out and read a lot of novels, but I changed it now to more of inspiring or confidence building books. So I remember that was one of the books that I read during my initial phase of that pivoting from the type of books that I used to read.
And I'm getting a comment in the chat that says great book. So I'm glad that that's I will add it to my reading list. I think one of the things for me as a graduate student, because I read so much,
Mm,
is I have moved over to audiobooks. But I absolutely I do adore reading, and but I read so much that I just find like I sort of supplement my reading with
yeah.
a lot of audio. Just it helps. Just that's just how I learn.
I
And
really love reading the paperback books. So I have a good collection here. Sometimes I don't find time to sit and read. So what I do is I switch to audiobooks. So I play it while I'm driving or doing something. Sometimes I buy the paperback book just because I want to have it. And then I buy the same audiobook for that so that I can flip between both. If ever I want to, find that time to read the paperback book.
fantastic. And I think, well, I will be adding it to my reading list. And I'm just seeing someone in the chat also saying I'm adding that to my reading list. So I think we all have a task
Yeah,
of putting Peter Thiel's 0 to 1.
yeah.
Is it called? Peter 0 to 1.
Mhm.
Okay, excellent. Good. No, I think we can all add that because I think this is such an important topic of just how do you take things from, like I said, vision to impact, and how do you start with a blank page essentially. And I know for a lot of people, a blank page can be super scary.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I like to do is I'll call it a sketch. Like I like to kind of have a vision
Mhm.
that's kind of a rough sketch that I can then just kind of bring other people in and sort of say, okay, how do we fill this in? How do we, how do we take it to the next step? It's just kind of having uh, like that ability to sort of tackle the blank page.
Yeah,
So you're
and
bringing,
it's all about you can just sit and stare at the blank page and do nothing, and you can start filling in that page. So it's all about that mental model that you build, or like the courage that you take to start doing what you want. You can like sometimes you might it might be a tiny thought that somebody is saying, or like a or a conversation that you have with a friend that inspires you to start feeling that. So look for that inspiration. It can be like from within you or outside. Like that inspiration is what gives you the courage to keep going.
and also you said tie it, we're starting with a blank page, but also tying it back to the big vision. Like what is the impact? What is the ultimate goal here? How does this, transform a process or transform lives and make things, better, easier, save time, save money,
Yeah.
all the things that people, look for efficiencies or,
Mhm.
and someone also talked about ideas, the question, and I'll just bring this as a question, is something a painkiller or is something a vitamin?
Do you mind repeating that?
So the idea is like a painkiller is like you have a problem and it hurts, and
Hmm.
you are really saying, I need to solve this like very painful thing in my life.
Yeah.
Or the vitamin is like this, you're not in pain. You're doing great. Like life is
Hmm.
kind of normal, but this is the thing that's going to just make it better
Hmm.
and make your life just that much better. But it's more of like maybe more preventative than
Hmm.
cure.
It's it's about like it's a perspective, right? You can do home automation and make your life easier. Avoid going like standing up and going to that switch and turning it off. Or you can say, "Hey Alexa, oh, I don't want to wake up all my Alexas and Google Homes now. Can you go? Or can you turn off the thing?" So it's about what your priority is at that point. Is would will it help if you give that vitamin? If you take that vitamin, is it going to make your life easier or people's life easier? give that vitamin. Or if you can survive without taking that vitamin, but going after a pain, going after a pain that is hurting you, if that's what needs more attention, go for that.
Well, I had an experience this week. So I do a lot of geospatial work, and so I work with really large data sets. And I have an internship that's really pushed the limits of what school kind of keeps it kind of
Mhm.
contained because they understand the students have certain limitations. But my internship was like, oh no, if you want to work with lidar data, you want to work with all the satellite imagery, go for it. And
Mhm.
so I have spent the better part of the year just wrestling with my computer and memory and like specifically the storage,
Mhm.
and it took my computer just completely crashing and being like, I am completely unfunctional because you have no more. After almost like a year of wrestling with it, and then I finally went to the store and they're like, you can add a 2 terabyte storage because your computer can handle like just add, and then we'll swap everything over and you're done. And then I was like, oh, like, but it took me having like so much pain
Yeah.
to actually like to get to the point where my computer was like non-functional. Whereas I could have done this before, but because it was sort of semi-functional and I could kind of wrestle with it, I just kind of lived with the problem.
Mhm.
So I think, how we think about and frame problems
Yeah.
and what we're willing to like, do we completely need to kind of have just tapped out,
Yeah.
or is it something where we can just actually earlier in the process say, oh, this could be better.
Yeah. It's about like think if that's all about the long term vision, right? Like in a different perspective though. So solving it right now, would it solve a bigger problem in the future? Like how much of time is it going to fix this? Right? Keeping that in mind is a key thing.
Yep. All right. We have one more question from the chat, and then we'll wrap this up. I'm
Sure.
so happy to have everybody here, and I do want to say for everybody who is here live, we have another session that'll be starting at 10:15 in open source intelligence with Iris Yuning Yi, and super excited for that. So please come and join us there. But here we go. Last question here is: since you just mentioned mental models, how do you refine and stress test your mental models?
Um, how do I refine it? Again, breaking it down into chunks, smaller chunks. So sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I need to get this thing done. I have the whole thing refined in my head. But when I think about it, I'll be like, okay, that's a huge thing to sort out, or like that's a huge thing to tackle. And then I go old school, take my pen and paper, uh, start writing down. Okay, what is this whole thing that I have to do? What are the smaller steps in that? Which one can I do immediately? Which one I cannot? And then see which one I can fit in my schedule at the moment, or like depending on the priority. Like how do I prioritize this? So pen and paper. That's when I go when I'm like completely in a stage. Okay, I am so confused. I don't know what to do now. That's I go old school at that time. And in terms of like even breaking it down, you might be able to get some help from your peers or your manager. Like figure out like get a different perspective of it. So it might help you shape the model better, refine it better, or add some nuances to it. So brainstorming is also something that always helps.
Fantastic. And actually, that reminds me. So, people here may have heard of it, may not have, but it's an annual thing. It's through Stanford. It's free. It's a MOOC. I think it's one of the larger MOOCs out there for these massive open online courses, and it's called Code in Place. I did it
Mhm.
last year. I'm doing it again this year. I would love to be a section leader in the future. And what it does is it's an introduction to programming. They use Python, but the reality is it's really just how to be like program thinker. And so you take a problem that you're looking to build with the code, and then you break it down into like its smallest component parts, and then make it so that whatever you write can then work in different universes. So if the universe is sort of a 4 by 4 square or like 10 by 10, that your code doesn't just say go 2 spaces that worked in the first one, but doesn't work in the second one. Like you have to learn to sort of say go until you hit a wall, and then turn around. And so it's a really good way, I think, just as people here, I don't know what, the audience's sort of programming skills are, but that's such a great class to just get that introduction. It's called Code in Place, and it's running right now for 2025, but it's something you can kind of put on your runway for 2026. Just so good to take whatever coding you do to the next level, or if you do none, it will introduce it to you and make it less scary. But it is exactly that same process of thinking, of just breaking it down into its smallest part so you can just solve that and then kind of move forward. And then again, you test it kind of in different universes.
That's an amazing thing. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
And you're obviously a programmer, so I bring that back as a senior software developer. So I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Donna. We really appreciated having you here today. Thank you to our audience who joined us live. So happy to have you here today. And we're just kicking off our channel, Geo Cyber Systems. So I invite you to subscribe. If you enjoyed this, please give it a like. And just so happy to have you here. Go take a break and then come join us at 10:15, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much, everyone.